There you go. Hey, howdy, folks. Happy Monday. We were having some doubts there whether StreamYard to kick over, but it did, and we will start the post Super Bowl pre-show with Russ. Go ahead, Russ.
So I want to make an announcement. Since nobody else is, pitchers and catchers will not be reporting on time for Major League Baseball. Neither the Players Association or the commissioner have decided that that's been delayed, but I'm telling you it's been delayed. And now first workout, which is all of it's supposed to start tomorrow for that. That's not happening. And then positional players is supposed to report on the 20th. I'm going to tell you that's not happening either. I just feel like somebody should say something. And since there are people out there that still care about baseball, I want it to be that person.
Since Rob Manfred is gutless and can't say it, or even some people in the Players Association.
Nobody's saying it.
Yeah.
Not a people.
Yeah. You know, I actually have fond memories of the opening of baseball spring training for a couple of reasons. I lived about 80 yards from a Tasty Freeze when I was a kid. A Tasty Freeze was like a Dairy Queen.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and they always opened up in the spring. It wasn't really spring; it was winter.
Right.
At the same time that the Tigers opened spring training, so it was like a double boost. You could start reading about the Tigers, and you could also get a chocolate vanilla cone or a hot fudge sundae. So it was always a great time to be a 7-year-old.
We had Dairy Queens in Buffalo, but we also had Carvel.
Oh yeah,
sure.
So and Carvel stayed open throughout the year because Carvel, unlike Dairy Queen, they were sort of like these like little shack type of places. They weren't like established stores. They were like, and they would close down in the winter because it was. But Carvel, they were always like in a strip mall, and they people would go in to buy the cookie puss or get a ice cream sandwich or something like that, even in the dead of winter. But
it's so funny because I had a Carvel really close to me here in Jersey that has been closed probably for a decade. But it was here for like the first 15 years when I was here, and obviously on Long Island, they're everywhere. But Plymouth, Michigan has a Carvel, which was crazy to me. I was like, wow. Yeah. They actually have a Carvel, but because the Carvel cakes are delivered everywhere now, if I get a feeling for Carvel, I just buy one of the small cakes.
Yeah, it's sort of like Krispy Kreme donuts now, Russ. They're in 7-Elevens now. Yeah. You don't need a Krispy Kreme store. They're basically distributed throughout. Okay, so start us off with the pre-show, the Super Bowl pre-show.
So Super Bowl, I guess we'll do the commercials. We could all say what our favorite one is. Mine was the Toyota with Eugene Levy. I enjoyed that one. Maybe it went a little long, but it was really good.
I like the one with Eugene Levy.
Whatever. It's it's Sarah Michelle Gellar, but it's really Geller. Everybody's got their own pronunciations. But I think that was my favorite.
I like the bowling.
Okay.
It had all the stars and the Big Lebowski.
Yep.
A feel to it, and then having Serena walk in. It was awesome. I like the Joneses. Was terrific.
Joneses was good.
Yeah.
They weren't as a whole. I didn't find the commercials as good as in previous years. I could tell you 3 or 4 that were decent, but that's it. Usually it's like all of them. But this year I felt like they were missing the mark on some.
I know the one that won the USA Today award, which was the Anna Kendrick Barbie Rocket Mortgage commercial, which is not
it was cute,
right? It
was
that's
nice.
Not aimed towards me, but I thought it was cute. I'll tell you what, easily, and there were like 3 or 4 that I thought were pretty decent. Easily, the worst commercial was the Matthew McConaughey one. It was.
It was bad only because. This is the only thing I would say about it. We had seen it for the last 2 or 3 weeks. The idea was cool, because he's right. Yes. I'm a big space guy, but, we got to take care of our own issues here.
Right. Now, I missed the one. I didn't, because I was flipping channels back and forth between reruns of NCIS. But I missed the the commercial that was 60 seconds of a QR code bouncing back and forth. I mean, apparently
that was annoying.
$13 million they spent for a 60-second ad, and that's what you spent it on? Give it to me. I'll that's
it's high concept, Mike.
As a guy said this morning on a podcast that I was watching, everybody in the world's talking about that ad today, and that is the objective.
Objective.
Yeah. So,
but apparently
so they hooked the mic. I wasn't going to talk to him.
But apparently, no. But this is the funny thing. Okay, yeah, everybody's talking about it, probably negatively, because it was the worst. But the site crashed.
Well, of course, that's good news.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what the guy said. That's exactly what you're going for, is you want, because then they got a second kick at it because now everybody's talking about how the site crashed. So
right, and they're going to go back.
Yeah, Thomas Boyle has the Schwarzenegger
Zeus commercial was good.
That was pretty decent.
Yeah. I think Russ's take on it. I didn't see as many as normally that I really like. I like the Budweiser horse, just because horses don't normally get up after a leg injury. So I was kind of happy about that. I thought there were, probably 10 that were, really piqued my interest, but not as many as normal. I never understand though, when, as in the McConaughey commercial, and there were a few others, they're commercials that we had seen all week, and yet you're paying Super Bowl rates to get them on.
No, that doesn't make sense to me either.
From what they were saying, from what I heard an interview this morning, they said, well, the commercials that were out there a week before were sort of teaser commercials. They were like 15, 30
Oh, yeah, right. It wasn't the full one.
And here they went the full 60 seconds. And I'm like, okay. Now, there were a couple movie commercials, and Russ, the Jurassic the Jurassic World. I mean, are you done with that? Or?
I am. I actually put on Twitter, what's going to happen first? Will the dinosaurs die first or Sam Neill? And people were saying Sam Neill would outlive the dinosaurs.
Well.
I mean, it's just so over. It's
if he doesn't, you'll be the first to report it. So.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, we can't say that the Jurassic World or Jurassic Park has been beaten into the dirt, because they've only reached 6, whereas Star Wars has reached 9.
Yeah, but okay, Star Wars has functioning, talking people. The stars of this are dinosaurs, and last I looked, none of them talk.
Yeah,
but don't be that kind. Don't be that cruel to Laura Dern. Come on.
Yeah, I don't like to criticize movies that have the extended runs, because I don't watch them, but the reason they have the extended runs is because there's a lot of people watching them.
I did watch the one a couple of movies ago when they first got it back into like movie theaters after probably like a 6-7 year gap. I did watch that, and I thought it was okay. And then I was like, the next one, I was like, no. And now this is the second one after that. And
that's why they had to bring back the cast of the original one, because the second one was not that good. Okay, getting to the game. This is the thing. I really didn't care that much about the game. Like, if it was Kansas City, I would have had a rooting interest to root against Mahomes. I didn't care one way or the other who won this game, so I could sort of sit back and enjoy it without that visceral hatred. Kev, and it was a decent game. It was not.
Yeah,
bad.
No, I mean, obviously the people in Detroit, we had a vested interest. It felt like it was our quarterback out there, and Stafford threw 3 touchdown passes, and so and we got the desired result. I think everyone hoped Stafford was going to win, and he did. And as many people wrote on Facebook today, just thereby proving what we've all known, that it's never been the players, it's been the management that has caused the issues in Detroit through the years, because that's the most consistent theme. So, and then, everybody's listed Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders and all the great talented players that the Lions have had that have never been surrounded by other talented players. And Stafford's that guy. I mean, I've always liked Stafford. I always have viewed him as kind of a bulldog pitcher type of guy, where he just grinds it out. finds a way to get it done. He's gonna eventually, before he's done. He started young. He was a starting quarterback, I think, when he was 22.
I wasn't sold on him at the beginning, but he's a lot better now with the team around him, and you could see it. And I knew a couple of years ago he was really good, but at the beginning I wasn't sold on him. I admit that.
Yeah, well, but he has been a guy. Early on, people said that he was injury prone. He had a couple of years in a row where he was hurt, and he hasn't been injured since then. He just kind of pulled pulled it all together, and he's going to end up with, before said and done, he'll be one of the most prolific passers.
Oh yeah, he's going to be a Hall of Famer for sure.
Yeah, already his numbers are just staggering. Yeah, he's had so many 300-yard gains, and so many come from behind wins. And even in that game, he wasn't even a consideration for MVP, and yet he threw 3 touchdown passes.
That's a fair point. That's really a fair point. I mean, look, most of us picked the Rams to win, and they did, but most of us also were like, boy, this refereeing is really getting dicey in these Super Bowls. And we saw a makeup call. We see it all the time in hockey, Kev, and we probably saw one in the Super Bowl too. And it's like, at this point, I can't get mad at it. It's not my team's. I don't have the same vitriol that some people do, but I get what they're seeing. We get to see it all. And,
but that's been going on for so long. I mean, you know how I feel about officiating. It is what it is. Yep. It's human. It's never, until you make it robotic, it's always going to be like this. And we don't want it to be robotic. So, I just remember the great Brian Lewis telling me, Kevin, don't you think if we could find better referees, we'd hire them? And the answer, of course, is yes. I know they would like to, so, there's the part of it. I actually thought, I take nothing away from the MVP. He's a terrific player. He's had an unbelievable year. But, he had 39 yards.
I thought Donald was the MVP.
I did too. My wife and I both thought Luke Donald had changed the game. When he started putting pressure on, it became a whole different game.
The whole second half was a whole different story. Matter of fact, Mike and I talked at halftime, and I said to him that I didn't believe the Bengals offensive line, which was bad all year, could hold up another half against the Rams. I said they're going to start to have problems, and they did almost immediately.
Well, I think the game actually changed on that out of bounds shenanigans. He chased him out, he threw him out. There was no flag on the play because it was a legitimate throwdown. And right after that, they started to it got him so jacked up.
Yeah, it fired him up. You're right.
Yeah, he had all kinds of pressure.
Well, I'm surprised one of the Bengals offensive linemen didn't try to take out.
They
Donald.
did.
No, they did, and he got called for a 15-yard penalty.
Yeah, he went after him. Yeah,
but
and
I have to say this because I'm sure it's particularly heartbreaking. This is 30 some odd years apart. The Bengals lose Super Bowls. They lost the John Taylor late touchdown with Montana with the almost perfect drive late in regulation, which I remember the story. I think somebody said Montana to sort of calm down his teammates had said something like, "Hey, there's John Candy."
I remember that. You're right.
And that sort of calmed down everybody because they were all verklempt because Cincinnati was leading late in the fourth quarter. I mean, Cincinnati, they had the ball at midfield after the Chase catch, and they had a 1st and 10, I think around the 50. And 3rd and 1, they get stuffed. And that really killed it because then
I think the going for it on 4th and 1 early in the game kind of killed it because it led to a touchdown that probably wouldn't have been a touchdown, and maybe the complexion of the game would have stayed a different way. The one thing I'll tell you, and I could be wrong about this because it is a long time ago, but I didn't feel like Cincy's coached a great game, and I'm not sure Sam White's coached a great game either. And I think that's what they have in common. Yeah,
but Russ, I think Mike's right on that. I thought they were marching down for the tying field goal.
Okay.
And that's
they also said they were going to go for it. Yeah, and that's the coach's decision. That's the other thing, Kev. The coach said no matter what, they were going for it. They were never going to kick a field goal.
Yeah, but I don't think that changed anything. I think when they didn't make it on that down, as Mike said, that changed everything because they had self-doubt, and then they decided to pass on 4th down. Yeah. And I thought that was a mistake. I thought they should have ran it again.
I
fair point. I can't say no.
I think the Cincinnati coach basically was it was sort of like the Bills when they played Tennessee earlier in the year on 4th and 1 down near the goal line, and they ran Josh Allen, and everybody second guessed them because they ran him instead of throwing the ball. I think that Taylor, the Cincinnati coach, was like, if I'm going to lose throwing the ball. I'm not going to lose running the ball, because they fell short on 3rd and 1. But Aaron Donald, they had 7 sacks in the second half.
Oh yeah.
The Cincinnati general manager, last note on this, the Cincinnati general manager, I don't care if you have to spend all 7 of your draft picks on offensive linemen. You're going to get your quarterback killed if you don't get him protected. He's one of the best young quarterbacks in football, and you better draft or sign a bunch of offensive linemen.
And he might have a slight knee injury as is now. So.
Did you see when he was grabbing his knee? I thought he blew he blew out his ACL like Beckham did.
Yeah, I don't think it was that
bad.
But
I saw a lot of Sewell this season, and I'm sure he'll be a fine addition to the line. But they got the better player now,
right?
He's had a much bigger impact, and I don't care who they had blocking, they weren't stopping Luke Donald in that second half.
Right.
That one sack where he basically spun around the lineman and then suddenly was right, in the quarterback's face. Like, I don't care who was there, he was going to push him back into the quarterback.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Well, one thing we haven't talked about too is, they lost their receiver in the middle of that game.
Yeah, OBJ.
And the tight end wasn't playing. Like, they didn't have all of their parts for their offense, and yet they still kind of found a way to win. It was an entertaining game, and of course, I had a vested interest, so I realized that.
I thought it was entertaining.
All I know is this: is like I would like my team to be able to go out in the middle of the year and get Von Miller and Odell Beckham Jr. That's sort of nice midseason.
Yeah. I mean, they could. They just, you could have.
But one thing we should bring up, because it we can contrast it to hockey. I hate the NFL tradition of handing the Lombardi Trophy to the owner. We do it right in the NHL. We give it to the players. The players win it, not the owner. So that Lombardi Trophy, should go to the players first. No problem with the owners getting it, but not first.
And I think Aaron Donald is going to retire. I do.
Yeah, and especially somebody as distasteful, at least the St. Louis fans, as Stan Kroenke. But anyway, hello, Hockey World. Today is Monday, February 14th, 2022, Valentine's Day.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
Kevin Allen, Hockey Buzz.
And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the HockeyBuzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. Okay, let's start with the trade that occurred around noon. The first, I would say, of the, we're 5 weeks away from the deadline, but this is sort of a deadline deal, or a, where and Kev, I know that you mentioned it a few weeks back. This was one of those ones where there was a comfort level. Sutter knows Toffoli really well, liked him as a player, felt they needed more offense, said to his boss, "Get me Toffoli." And they did. I didn't think they paid a whole lot. They're giving up their first round pick and then some other players to kind of make it work, other assets. But and they get years on the deal. They're going to have Toffoli a while. This is not a rental. And I think this will help Calgary. They're already, they're a team that's already hard to play against, and now they've added to their offense. So. And they didn't hurt themselves for this year by getting that player. So this is a good move. And to be honest, not every team could have made this deal. The fact taking in salary over the next few years, even a little bit. I mean, this is only $4 million plus, right? He's four and change. 4.25.
Yeah. So they were in a position where they could make this work, and I like this trade from from Calgary. I mean, it could be the kind of thing. I know Sutter feels it will, and the kind of thing that could give them an edge in making the playoffs, because it's still, not for certain that they're going to make the playoffs.
Now, Russ, the entire deal is Toffoli going to the Flames for Tyler Pitlick, and he's an expiring contract at the end of this year. So basically, he's making $1,750,000. So that's a discount on Toffoli's deal. Emil Heineman. Heineman, or is it Heineman or Heineman?
Heineman.
Okay, Heineman. A conditional 2022 first round pick. The condition is top 10 protected. I'm assuming if it is a top 10 in the top 10, then it would slide to the next year.
Okay.
And a 2023 fifth round pick. So what do you think of the cost on that one?
It's way too high. I mean, here's the thing. Daryl Sutter's already antiquated in the sense that thinking he's going to win the cup. Now, if they need the revenue for the playoffs, hey, that's what they're going for then, right? Because they'll probably make the playoffs and they'll get some revenue. Tyler Toffoli has not been great in the playoffs. He's been very hit and miss. He was great for that cup run, and he was great last year, and not so good in between. So I don't know what he's going to do in the playoffs. They're going to be stuck with his term. In 2 years, if they don't win the cup, they're going to be stuck with Toffoli with 2 more years, no Sutter, and less draft picks, and not a great farm system, because Heineman will be up in a year or two, and he can play second or third line, and this guy can score. So it's not like Emil Heineman is just like this, maybe he'll make it in the NHL pick. He's better than that. And he's partially developed already playing in the SHL and scoring goals there. So I thought the cost was way too high, but they made it early. So they, again, you want to do it early, Gorton's going to hold you over the fire. They did it. But I can't think of the last time that Calgary didn't get taken for too much on a trade, even though they may have gotten a good asset in return. They got a good asset, but I also think the minute Toffoli slows down, that is going to be a bad contract.
Well, Russ, go ahead.
Well, I just don't think Toffoli's going to slow down before this contract runs out. He's only 29 years old.
Yeah, I think he will.
He's a consistent scorer.
This year's got 9 goals, but he's on a bad team, so we'll see.
Yeah, he's on a horrible team, and he had 28 goals when he was on a good team.
He'll score goals in the regular season. To me, if he doesn't score them in the playoffs, I don't even care what he does in the regular season.
But he's never been known as he's never been known as a blazer. He's not he doesn't.
No, he's not, and that's what I'm saying. If he slows down a little bit more, it could really be a problem. But
yeah, I don't know how you can say he's not a playoff performer. He's got his half.
He's got 9 goals in 47 games. He's not even a half a point a game.
Are we talking about the same guy?
Yeah.
No, he's got 39 points in 76 games in the playoffs.
Yeah, last year he had 14 points in 22 games. The year they won the cup in 2014, the Kings, he had 7 goals, 7 assists.
Right.
But
it was second year. It was the second year.
Those were his 2 big playoffs. What's the rest, Mike?
He hasn't even been in the playoffs. So.
He has. He's been in with Vancouver. He was in a couple more times.
He had 4 points in 7 games, 2 goals in 7 games. So that's okay, He had 6 points in 12 games in his rookie year. And then he had 2 other times when he was in the playoffs when they only lasted 4 games and nobody on the team scored and he didn't get any. I don't know that you can say he's been a poor playoff performer.
I just don't. He has to have a really good playoff for this to be worth it. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
I haven't seen enough consistency from him in the playoffs to say it. Now, last year he was great.
This is. I mean, and where I don't really have an issue with the deal. I think it's a decent deal in terms of adding a quality top 6 forward. But what I mean, obviously, the Flames are sort of going all in here in the sense that, okay, Gaudreau is a UFA at the end of the year. So now you're spending $4+ million that maybe could have been put towards Gaudreau, and that's going towards Toffoli. And you have Tkachuk, who's an RFA at the end of this year. Does the acquisition of Toffoli increase the chances of either Gaudreau or Tkachuk not being back after this year? I think
one of them definitely won't be back.
What's that, Russ?
One of them definitely won't be back.
Yeah, but I don't think it's because of this deal. I think they already know that what's going to happen with those 2 players, and I think they're just to see. I just don't see, Russ, how you can see this was an overpayment. You're not going to get a player like him without giving out a first round pick, and the other guy.
The other guy is a better player than I think people are giving credit for. Besides, the fifth, I don't care about.
The fifth round pick is no big deal, and I don't know. Is this guy that's going to come up? Is he if he's a player in the league? He's a player in the league, but is he going to be an impact player? Because the Foley's going to play in their top six.
Yeah.
I think the reason you give up the reason that they gave up the first round pick is because you got cost certainty at a relatively low amount.
That is why. But I think he could be an impact goal scorer. I do. Do I think he's a 40 goal scorer? No. But do I think he could score 20? Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what you pay for these days because there are very few 40 goal scorers.
No, I know.
So.
But I'll tell you who's not happy about this deal. Ken Holland. Ken Holland is not happy about this deal because I think Calgary now sort of makes the first move, and okay, maybe Anaheim, maybe LA drop out of the race in the Pacific as things go along, but right now you have to assume they're going to stay in it based on the way that they've played so far. And now I think Edmonton looks at this, even though they've won 2 games in a row under their new coach, I think they have to look at the situation and say, okay, either goaltender or defense, we got to make a move that sort of corresponds to this, because Calgary now has sort of made a move to improve themselves in an area. We pretty much said that Calgary needed probably to add offense. They had the goaltending, their defense was pretty decent. They needed more offense, and now I think Edmonton's got to sort of address their area of need. Otherwise, I think they lag behind.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, you're right. They had to do that. But no matter what they do, their offense is not going to be as good as Edmonton's. So, the advantage that Edmonton has in offense isn't going to change no matter what they do. I don't think they're totally upset about this, but it does close the gap. I can't argue that because that's what they needed, and their goaltending advantage is so significant. That to me they're a better team. I think their number 2 is better than Edmonton's number 1. I think Vladar is better than Koskinen or Mike Smith. That's fair. Yeah.
Now, just as the show started, we had some breaking news here. Jack Eichel will make his season debut on Wednesday against Colorado, and corresponding to that move, Kelly McCrimmon, the Vegas general manager, announced that Mark Stone will be going on LTIR effective immediately. So Kucherov, Patrick Kane.
Yeah.
Don't worry about losing Riley Smith. I did say that, and I was right about that.
Now the only issue they got now is they still got Martinez to deal with, because the combination. They still have some work to do, but. Yeah, the Mark Stone situation, and I've already had conversations with people about this via email. They're upset that they think that Vegas is pulling a fast one. But this is what I can tell you. Stone probably shouldn't have been playing anyway. But in this situation in the hockey world, in the hockey world.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, in the hockey world, you play through these kind of agonizing, painful deals, and they saw this as a way to, hey, let's clean it up. You'll be back in time for the playoffs, and then we can get Eichel in, and then everybody wins. You're going to feel better for the playoffs. You're going to get this resolved. You won't have your off season ruined. You're going to deal with it now, and then we get the help we need. And we don't have Riley Smith because that was the only possible.
Yeah, LTIR is a joke. LTIR is basically an extra $10 million on your cap. That's what it is. It's like it's an extra $5 to $10 million on your cap.
I mean that's wrong, Russ. It's not a joke. I mean, you have to have it, or you wouldn't be able to function. Because guys do get seriously hurt. But they might have to look at it differently and sort of close off these kind of things and say that that the cap continues into the playoffs. Or,
right. That's what
they should do. But it's not a joke. It's necessary.
I mean, it's a joke the way it's distributed. It is. It's really poorly done in the and look, no GM should complain because they're all going to do it if they're in that situation.
Yes.
And we know that.
For sure. I mean, those are the rules. But to me, this is on the PA.
Yes,
it is on the PA. That's true.
Yeah. I mean, that but one of the problems is that you're in these heavy negotiations, all the details of all this, and what you never can factor in is how creative everybody is.
That's true.
And then somebody figures out how to take advantage of it, and then you've got to close it off at some point.
This is
and so that's what they're going to have to do. But you got to have long-term IR to deal with these kinds of situations. But for now, there's a way to take advantage of it. And guys, he wouldn't be getting this surgery. I don't think. I think he'd play through this, and he'd be miserable.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
But this is a tool that every general manager is going to use. And I mean, honestly, it's like, the hue and cry. Oh my God, they're going to take advantage of LTR.
It's more than a tool. It's become more than that. And the fact is, they've left this open for the last few years without trying to close it up either. Like that's the
but nobody took advantage of it in a significant way.
Until Kucherov, but they didn't do anything after that.
And we haven't negotiated the deal since.
No, but you could always amend the CBA if everybody votes on it.
Time out. Going back to Kane, 2015, and on top of that, how many the Pavel Datsyuk deal to Arizona, the Nathan Horton, David Clarkson deal between Columbus and Toronto. Manipulating the LTIR is something that teams are just doing every year. So yes, you could change it, and maybe what Ted Starkey suggested, and on Friday, because we were starting to hear rumors of the possibility of this happening, he said, the cap extending into the playoffs is something that could.
I think it will. I think it will in the next CBA. That's for sure.
But they don't have to wait till the next CBA.
Yeah, they do.
You can bring it up. It doesn't mean they'll summarily turn it down if there's something else they want.
The reason they do is how this works too. You're just not thinking about it. Somebody's going to want something in return for that.
No, I said that. Unless they might have something already that the other side could use. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, but it doesn't. You don't do it out of season because it's going to cost you something, and usually that's something that's very big. So they won't do it again until they actually have a different. But I'm pretty sure we're going to see the cap stretching into the.
But this is again like the college free agent thing. Everybody always says close up the loophole, but you know what? The GMs don't want to close up the loophole.
They don't want to close that up, and nobody does. That's the problem with that. I've brought that up to people, and they said, "Why do you want to close that up?" Players love it because it's a way for them to.
Well, because I didn't say I did. I think the loophole is fine the way it is, but there are a lot of pries when there are players from the CHL and the other leagues that don't get to call their own shots like a NCAA player does. I mean, they eventually get to call their own shot. That's a pretty big deal.
That is a very much a pretty big deal, but nobody wants to change it, so it isn't going to change.
No, it's not going to change. I agree with that.
So, and when's the last time that fairness had anything to do with it? It is really a kind of a bizarre situation how this kind of all works, but it sure makes it fascinating though.
It makes it interesting for us. There's no doubt.
Yes, it does. It really does. And now we're on the Martinez watch because he had a very serious lacerated face. I mean, it's not like he hasn't had a significant injury, but he's been skating a while now.
Yeah.
So at some point here they're going to deal with that, and you only get $10 million on that extended.
Does he have any more? Is he a UFA or does he have another year?
No, they signed him to an extension.
Yeah, he's got an extension. He's here for a while.
Go to Seattle or Arizona.
No, they're not going to trade him.
They're not trading him.
You don't think they're going to trade him?
No, they'll trade.
No, not at all.
they'll trade.
We say
Dadnoff.
they're going to trade Dadnoff, but what if nobody wants him, Mike?
Well, then
Trade who?
Dadnoff. We keep saying that, but apparently nobody wants him.
I don't see that they can trade Dadnoff. I think it's got to be Riley Smith. So
yeah, I don't know. That would surprise
unless they pay somebody off, if they overpaid.
No, that never happens.
Well, I mean, they can overpay the Arizona Coyotes or somebody to take Dadnoff. I mean, but that extra year just makes it hard.
The Coyotes need a cap hit for next year.
They do need a cap hit.
Yeah.
Okay, so, Kev, you wrote about Darcy Kemper, and Darcy Kemper had a shutout yesterday.
I mean, I've been talking to people about this too, because the one element that's been missing from all of our discussions, and we've talked about it frequently, of the Colorado's team's need for a goalie. And I know Mike is concerned about his injury history, and plus he had been real up and down. If you look at his starts over the start of the season, he's had a bunch of them where he's given up a bunch of goals, and then he's had some nice ones. But all of a sudden, he has settled into a rhythm now. Like Colorado, the team is playing very well, but so is Kemper. In his last 9 starts, I went through every start. He's at a .952 save percentage. He's 7-0-1 in those 9 starts. And I've been talking to people around the league, and they all have said the same thing. He looks really good. And so the question is, and what we've not known when we've discussed all this, is how Sakic feels about it. And that's always a hard read, because he's not the hardest guy in the league to read, but he's one of the guys. And you never quite know what he's thinking. He plays his cards close to the vest. And a couple of guys have told me they do not think he is necessarily going to go out and get a goaltender. The average Kemper's save percentage is up to .918 now. The average has fallen to .909. The team save percentage in Colorado now is at exactly the same place where the Tampa Bay Lightning is. Kemper's goals against average and save percentage have crept up close to where Campbell's is of Toronto.
We have only one guy on this panel that's worried about the Colorado goaltending. I haven't been. I'm not. But there's one guy on this panel that does.
Yeah. I've been concerned about it. I've watched a lot of Colorado's games early on, and I thought that Kemper wasn't playing at a high level. I'm not concerned about his injury, but I am concerned about his goaltending. But he's been very, very good.
And I'm the exact opposite. I'm not worried about him as a quality goaltender. I'm worried about him getting hurt. And I can understand why Sakic, maybe there are other fish to fry before the deadline, Kev, because we've heard, the Giroux rumors, or we've heard them going after a forward or maybe another defenseman. I just see what happened in the bubble a couple years ago, and them ending up with Michael Hutchinson in Game 7, and that's why I'm like, if it was me, I'm like, okay, maybe I don't go out and get myself a number 1. Maybe I go out and get myself a really good number 3, and so I don't have Michael Hutchinson with my life on it.
Well, my thought is this: they've been linked to rumors. There's been good reporting that the Philadelphia Flyers have been looking at Colorado's prospects. So they've obviously had some discussions about Drew. But I think a better way to go is they should get in the Sherrod standings. First of all, he's a 3.
They stayed in Philly for like 5 straight days looking at everybody in Philly.
Yeah. Well, there's been really good reporting about what they've been looking at in terms of the prospects and stuff. But anyway, the point of all is, if I was them, I'd be looking at Sherrod, because, that's what they need for the playoffs. A guy like him that's hard to play against. He's good defensively. He's a shutdown guy. They got plenty of offense.
So you don't think he's hurt? You don't think Sherrod's hurt? You think they're playing possum with that so he stays healthy for the trade deadline?
He's on the IR.
Yeah.
So, but he's only supposed to be there a week.
I know, but this is Ben Sherrod we're talking about. Like, every year it seems he's been getting hurt before the deadline lately. He's one of those guys that has before.
Well, I don't know. I don't really have any idea, but I think Sherrod is fine to play, and I just think, like, if I was Colorado, that's a guy that I'd be pursuing. It's a lot less costly. It's going to cost you a first round pick, but they're going to pick 28th or
Right.
29th, and Sherrod, we saw what he can do.
Oh no, he could be a difference maker.
Yeah, he can, and I think they could use him even more than Giroux. And Giroux's, I can see the lure there. I mean, they got enough goals, but Giroux gets fired up. He plays a feisty, passionate style, so I can see the value there. But I'm just saying, right now they have Jack Johnson, playing some minutes, and I just think Sherrod would be better than Jack Johnson, even though
there's no doubt about that. You know what's funny though, Kev? I just feel like the Giroux thing is coming from Sakic, and I think he probably sees that he's not going to re-sign Kadri, and if he gets Giroux, he will try and sweet talk him into extending with the team, especially if they're very close to the cup. And I think that's what Sakic's plan is, really.
Yeah, because there's no way on God's green earth that Nazem Kadri is going to re-sign with Colorado, because he's not going to take less, because they would want him back for less because they got to sign McKinnon, and that's not going to happen.
Giroux might take less to win a cup.
Yes, Kadri is turning 32. This is his last chance to make big money. Yeah. He's a center. There are teams out there that need centers, so he's gonna try to hit the grand slam home run, and he's not gonna hit the grand slam home run with the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But
the Flyers, I will say, just again, they have to do better than Justin Barron and Sampo Ranta. That has to, if that were to occur, that would not be a good trade. Even if there's a first-round pick attached, that would not be a great trade. They got to do better than that with at least one of those prospects, if not two of them.
But the challenge there, Russ, like we said on Off the Post, is the fact that Giroux's got an $8.25 million contract. But he is, probably the second best rental forward in this rental class next to
he's one of the top 3 face-off guys in the league. You could put him on the wing or in center. You can put him on the power play or the penalty kill. Like, there's a lot of ways you can use Claude Giroux.
Well, and we've got now multiple ways to launder him. You can launder him through Arizona, Detroit, Seattle. So you can get him down to $2 million.
Right.
Philadelphia will keep half. And then you can ship them through Detroit. Now you're going to end up paying a lot more for him, but but still, I mean, I think it would be worth it to get him down. He's one of those guys that I think is worth laundering.
I do too.
Not everybody is, but he is.
Yeah. Now switching to the Olympics here for a second. Starting with the men, because the women, we know the matchup that's going to be on Wednesday, and it's the matchup we've been waiting for, which is Canada-US. So we'll address that one as we get closer to that game. But Kev, Russ and I talked on Friday night when it was Canada-US. And first of all, I find it laughable the accuracy of the CNN Twitter feed. The article that CNN posted regarding, this is the U.S.'s first victory over Canada since 2010, that's true. But then they said, spurring on memories of the 1980 miracle on ice. Nobody who's watching this tournament is mistaking what we're watching with 1980 or 1998 or anything.
Nothing close to that.
Russ and I were watching the Canada-US game, and it was competitive, but Kev, it was AHL caliber. It really was. It was sloppy.
Yeah, no, I don't know why they would write that because it's not anything close. I mean, the only thing that's the same is that we went with college players in 1980, and we were going with college players now. That's the only similarity, and it's a completely different situation because they were going up against the Soviets, who had some of the best talent in the world then. I mean, the talent that was on the Soviet team, it was not only great for that era, but great for all eras, and that's what makes it different. But as it's turned out, Helene Elliott of the LA Times wrote a really nice piece, and it was very, very accurate, where she just says it's looking like the USA Hockey made the right decision to go with the younger group.
Yeah, no question.
And because that group is talented, there's a lot of skill there, and their goaltending has been good, and they've got
multiple. Accurate about Drew Comesso? I think I was.
Yeah, you were, but also Strauss-Mann has done a good job as well.
Yes, no question.
So, who do you think he's going to sign with?
It's a good question.
Any idea, Russ?
No idea.
Yeah, the problem with him is he's obviously 6 foot. So that's gonna.
Somebody will do it.
Oh no, there's like 11 teams interested, Russ.
Yeah.
But at least that's what I've heard. So
I don't doubt it.
Let's deviate just because it's funny. A couple weeks ago, Jeff Merrick reported that a undrafted OHL goaltender named Matt Guzda, who's 6'5" and 220, I think, like big, tall, but he was never drafted. He was 21 years old. He got signed by the Florida Panthers. And Kev, there is still that prejudice against, the big goalie, the 6'5" goalie, but the 6 foot goaltender, there's UC Saros and there's a couple other guys, but there's still a prejudice against the short goalie still.
Yeah, no, and it's somewhat cyclical, but what we need is the 6 foot goalie to come in and dominate, and then we'll all of a sudden we'll be looking for small, quick goalies again. You know how it goes. So,
but going back to the Olympics, Russ, it's like it was funny because I was listening to the CBC broadcast, and they're like, well, Canada's got to beat. I can't even remember who they played their final game, but they were rooting for the U.S. to lose to Germany, I believe it was, because if the U.S. went undefeated, they would get the bye from the first round of the quarterfinals, and I'm like, okay, Canada is going to play China. That's like a bye. Are you kidding me? I mean, like the only advantage that they don't get is they get a day of rest. US, as
I mean, that's pretty much what everybody has been saying when you see the analysts of it, that the only reason is you don't get that time off. But I've always kind of questioned whether that's good or not. I feel like when you're in playoffs or in the medal round, like you like the rhythm of playing every other day and getting out there. So I don't know that you need, rest so much in the Olympics in a format like this, where you played 3 preliminary games and now you're right into the medal round and all the games are important. I think, you want to keep your team into it, thinking about it, focused. So I think you want to play every other day, if you ask me.
Yeah, on Off the Post and also definitely on Locked On Olympics podcast, I talked about Parker Fu, and he ended up scoring the first goal for China. I think there's a chance he could get signed. I'm hoping for him, and so, Spencer I think has to get signed. Parker I think is with Chicago. I think it's Spencer. One of them is with
Spencer signed. Well, I know he signed a couple of years ago with Calgary. He was with Calgary.
So he has rights. I don't know if Parker has rights with somebody anymore, but I'm hoping he can get over to North America because he might be, a bottom, like a 4th line player. And we'll see. I mean, I was happy to see him get the goal. The one thing I was looking, Kev, for Strauss-Mann, I could see a team like the Devils going after him. Because the way they've had injuries in goal, they're not going to hang on to Wedgwood forever. Bernier's probably, with that hip injury, who knows what's going to happen with him. I could see Strauss-Mann fitting into their system.
Yeah. He's from the East Coast. I think he's from Connecticut, is he not?
Connecticut. That's the other reason, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure Wedgwood got claimed. Wedgwood got claimed. He's on Arizona now. Now it's
that's right.
Now it's Gillies.
Yeah. So they need a goalie. I could see him making a heavy play for him.
And they called up Nico Dawes when they didn't even really want to. They had Akira Schmid up a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, because he's 23. Yep. So yeah. So Parker is the kid who's Chicago. So I think Spencer is really without an affiliation now. So maybe he'll get another crack at it.
What I'm surprised at, Kev, is the fact that, we thought that it was possible that they were going to extend the taxi squads after the All-Star break, and they stuck with their guns. They didn't do it. And I mean, I'm a little surprised now, maybe they just didn't want, from what I understand, they just didn't want like what they considered money outside of the system, because it was meaning money that, like you were burying money on the taxi squad. Like, for example, the Leafs were burying Nick Ritchie or Kyle Clifford. Now they're down in the American Hockey League. Now that money isn't outside the system. Now they're down in the minors, and now it's factored in. But I still think, even though we may not have games postponed because of COVID, we're going to have situations like the Islanders right now who lose Varlamov to COVID, and now they call up Corey Schneider.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I would say about that is, and we'll give the league some credit for this, they are carefully monitoring where we are in the pandemic. And I think one of the things that they paid attention to is when, the experts thought this was going to sort of die down a little bit. And, we already are seeing that. I know here in Detroit, well, I'm actually not in Detroit, but in Detroit where I normally live, Jeff Blashill, they have Hronek on the COVID list, and he said they were prepared, thinking there was going to be more players coming out of the break, that, these players were gone, they're out and about. But it just so happens that now where we are in the pandemic is, at least in Michigan, and I think in elsewhere, as well, there are fewer cases. The number of hospitalizations have gone down, and it looks like it's going to be less of a problem than it was 4 weeks ago. So I think they did sort of factor that in. They have a lot of medical experts that they consult. I think they felt like it was going to be down, and you could sort of get away with it. And as you pointed out accurately, they're afraid that these same general managers who manipulate the salary cap and the long-term IR to their advantage, we're also going to do the same thing with the taxi squad. So I think that's why they didn't do it.
One last thing here before we end the show. Pierre LeBrun was reporting that, nothing's been decided yet, but there it is expected to be the World Cup of Hockey in 2024, and they're expecting no Team Europe and no Team North America, which I'm assuming that means, that Slovakia and, I don't know what they'll do. But, honestly, I thought the most entertaining thing of the last World Cup was Team North America. So that God knows they had to do away with that.
Yeah. But I think the leagues would shut down to, allow, like the Slovakian league would shut down, allow, the best Slovakian players to come over and play. So I guess,
it probably wouldn't kill them, but that's the only way they're going to field the team. That's for sure.
Well, the thing I don't like about this, and I know that from every report out there, they're saying that this is going to be the case. They want to shut down the season in February. I'm just as much against shutting down the season in February for the Olympics as I am for the World Cup of Hockey. The only difference here is they're getting they're getting revenue out of this one because there's a money sharing agreement between them and the IIHF. But you're stopping the season.
Yeah,
you're stopping the season midway.
I do want to answer he was just asking about the under 23, and we've already said they're never going to do that again because they were too good, and this time they might actually win, and they wouldn't want to do that.
But Kev, what do you think the appetite is amongst the owners for stopping the season for 2 weeks in February to risk your players in an international tournament?
Well, I think the same things apply. That we're going to go to the Olympics in 2026.
Yes,
for sure. And I think you answered your own question because there'll be revenue coming in, so the revenue is not going to be an issue. I think they'll replace any losses that might come about from this stop and restart. But the question that still remains is the risk of injury. Guys could get hurt in the World Cup. The
I don't
intensity is
remember
there.
anybody getting hurt in the last one. Do you? I don't remember there being a
No,
significant.
but, I mean it could happen.
Sure,
But that was in September.
Right. That's why. Yeah, it was in September. Yeah.
I mean, all you have to talk about is John Tavares in Sochi.
Yeah.
The Islanders weren't a playoff team, but if the Islanders were a playoff team, you think that I think it was Charles Wong at that. But you think Charles Wong wouldn't have raised a complete crap fit? I think he would have. But
anyway. Wouldn't have done him any good, but he
right.
So.
No. But okay, great show, guys. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. For Kevin Allen, for Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thanks for watching, and remember, without the buzz, it's just